Good evening. I too want to just pass some thanks on to Fox River. I don't know if it would be the music program, but my family attended on Saturday night the rendition of Alice in Wonderland, and my wife and I loved it. And I guess anytime you can take a 3-year-old and have them sit through an hour-long performance, a half hour past his bedtime, and he sits there watching it, you know it was a good job. So, wonderful. My comments tonight are about the lack of superintendent evaluations that were basically, there was no response to the public records request for those past evaluations. Through the public records law, it was learned last month that after several years of employment, the superintendent, Mr. Yoke, possesses no written or electronic evaluation of his performance. Board Policy 225 states the following: it shall be the policy of the Waterford Great School District to provide the district administrator with an annual evaluation of her or his work performance. The evaluation shall be conducted in accordance with state law, which means it should be written and it should be annual. Our own Waterford Great School District policy then goes on to say the following: annually, during the first week in December, the district administrator evaluation form shall be distributed to all board members. So, Mr. Yoke, I would like to know if last December you presented the board with that form.
I guess,
Do you want me to respond?
I don't.
You're not
think so.
required to. No.
It's so simple, it's a yes or a no. I'll move on if you don't want to, but it speaks to this issue of transparency and being open.
The board has been very open with me as far as their evaluation. They've evaluated me in December of 12 and December of 11.
But you have nothing written or electronic that you can share. That you possess is what your letter to me stated.
My letter reflects the response to your open records request.
Okay. Board policy then continues to state the following: by December 15th, all evaluation forms shall be completed and returned to the school board president. Last December, that was Mr. Jensen. At the next board policy then says, at the next school board meeting, the board president and board will discuss in closed session the responses and evaluation data. So, Mr. Jensen, I would like to know if last December you received these written evaluation forms from the individual board members.
I'll respond to you this way, Matt. And I've been here well over a decade with many different board members, several different administrators, district administrators, all different kinds and types. And I have never been through a written evaluation period for any of our administrators in the last decade. So Mr. Yoke telling you that there's no written record of this is correct.
Okay. So, all right, so I guess that's a no. Policy then continues to state the following: at a special school board meeting in January, the school board president shall present a written summary of the comments of the entire board to the district administrator. So again, I would like to know if last December you presented the superintendent with a written summary of the comments of the entire board as described in board policy.
No.
I go on to say, I was going to say if you did, why does he not have a copy? If you did not, then I have to ask this, how can we know then if the superintendent is doing his job? And if you are not following your own board policy and state law, how do we know that you, as elected board members, are fulfilling the most important role you have, which is to oversee the single administrator who oversees the rest of the employees of the district?
Well, by somehow you're assuming that nobody oversees the district administrator, yet everybody on this board votes for district administrators when they're hired. You assume that somehow nobody cares after they're hired whether they do a good job or not, which in fact is 100% incorrect. We've had long discussions about the district administrator with them, whether it be Chris, who's only been here for 2 years, Sally Jo before that, or even going back to Gwen O'Connell, which you may or may not even know her. And again, every district administrator has always been reviewed, and usually it's verbal. I have never seen written documentation on it. So your point is you don't trust the board to review the district administrator, or what is your point? And let me clarify one thing. Board policies are not state statute. No person on here is required to follow a board policy by state statute. State statute does not say how the district administrator will be reviewed. Correct?
Incorrect. The board policy.
100% incorrect. Board
the
policy
state-
is not state statute.
Right, but the state statute says that annually you will perform a written evaluation
Board policy
of
does.
the superintendent. No, that's state statute. And see, herein lies the problem. You not only don't know your own board policy, Mr. Jensen, even though you were president for several years, you don't know state statute that you're required to follow. And you showed a total disregard for both open meetings law and public records.
Really?
And this
Okay,
continues.
enough of this. Point of order, Bob. I'm not going to listen to this person
Well, this is citizen comment.
denigrate
so
everybody
you
that works
actually
on
do
this
have
school
to
district.
listen.
Sorry,
It's my turn.
it's not your turn anymore. Point of order.
It's worth noting
Bob.
that you, along with
Excuse
other...
me, Matt, what is your point of
My
order?
point of order is he is not in order right now. He is constantly ridiculing anybody on the board and trying to say his ideas of what reality is what the state law is. He is not a lawyer. He is not here representing himself as a lawyer. And him stating what state law is, and he's right now incorrect with what it is not true. And I'm not going to listen to him badmouth people on the board or the district administration.
I understand your point of order, but I vote, this is citizen input, and Matt has the right to say what he
Yes.
participates.
That's not true.
And for the record, I just read state policy, I've read state policy or quoted it and read your own board policy. So the people in the audience and the people that watch the video recordings can make up their own decision, I guess, whether you're right or I'm right. I'm almost done here. I guess then I think it's worth noting that Mr. Jensen, along with the other gentlemen on the board, found it within yourself necessary to be the deciding votes last month to give yourself a $3,400 bonus on top of a $500 raise as compensation for your service on the board. You may not realize, but now with an annual compensation of $7,300 that you'll be getting from April 2013 to April 2014, you are the second highest paid board members in the state of Wisconsin, second only to those in the Milwaukee Public School Board. And, I'll conclude again that, Mr. Jensen in particular, you have been very critical of my public record requests. You claim that my requests have cost the district over $15,000. I can only conclude that you make these comments because you're either not aware of state law, your own board policy, or because the administration prefers to pass every request that I make onto a lawyer who probably charges $200 to $300 per hour. But that's the district's choice to do that. It's not a requirement. And I offer no apologies about that. And I'm going to continue to make available to the public information that belongs in the public domain. And with the website that I put these recordings on, wgsdmeetings.com, there's been over 20,000 page views in over 4 months, just over 4 months. So I think that feedback is enough for me to know that there is a tremendous amount of interest in the information that I have gathered through the public records and open meetings law. Thank you.
Any further citizen input?
So Bob, as clarification, since I don't think we're about this, but I say for point of order for our next meeting for our finance, I would like a written review of all the costs associated with Matt's constant request for open records request list. So the public will know what kind of money is wasted on Matt's open records requests. Thank you.